Cannabis is often talked about as something that has quick, short-term effects, like relaxation or changes in mood and perception. But what many people don't realize is that cannabis can also influence the brain gradually over time. These changes depend on how often it's used, how much is used, and especially the age at which someone starts. The brain is a living, adaptable organ, and repeated exposure to any substance, including cannabis, can shape how it works. To understand this, we need to look at the brain's communication system. The brain uses chemical messengers called neurotransmitters to send signals between cells. Cannabis mainly works through a system called the endocannabinoid system, which helps regulate mood, memory, sleep, appetite, and stress. THC, the main psychoactive compound in cannabis, mimics natural chemicals in this system and binds to cannabinoid receptors in the brain. When this happens occasionally, the effects are usually temporary. But with repeated use, the brain starts adapting over time. Frequent cannabis use can cause the brain to reduce the number or sensitivity of its cannabinoid receptors. This is the brain's way of trying to maintain balance. As a result, the same amount of cannabis may produce weaker effects, which is known as tolerance. Some people then use more to feel the same impact, which can further reinforce these brain changes. Memory is one of the areas most affected. THC interacts with the hippocampus, a region critical for forming new memories. With long-term heavy use, some people experience slower recall, difficulty learning new information, or problems with attention. While many of these effects can improve after stopping use, especially in adults, repeated exposure can make memory processing less efficient over time. Motivation and reward processing can also change. Cannabis affects dopamine, a neurotransmitter linked to motivation and pleasure. Regular exposure may make everyday activities feel less rewarding compared to the effects of cannabis. This doesn't happen to everyone, but some users notice lower drive or reduced interest in tasks that once felt engaging. Emotional regulation is another area influenced by long-term cannabis use. Because the endocannabinoid system plays a role in stress and mood control, repeated THC exposure can alter how the brain responds to anxiety or emotional challenges. Some people feel calmer with cannabis, while others may experience increased anxiety or mood changes over time. Especially with high THC products, age plays a major role in how cannabis affects the brain long-term. The brain continues developing until about the mid-20s, especially areas responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and emotional regulation. Using cannabis regularly during this period may have stronger and more lasting effects on brain structure and function compared to starting in adulthood. Sleep patterns can also change. While cannabis may initially help some people fall asleep faster, long-term use can affect natural sleep cycles. The brain may become less efficient at producing deep, restorative sleep on its own, which can lead to feeling less refreshed without cannabis. The good news is that the brain is highly adaptable. Many changes linked to cannabis use can improve when use is reduced or stopped, particularly in adults. Memory, attention, sleep quality, and emotional balance often show recovery over time as the brain restores its natural chemical balance. How cannabis changes the brain over time is not about fear or judgment. It's about understanding how repeated exposure shapes brain chemistry and function. With this knowledge, people can make informed choices about their habits, their health, and their long-term mental clarity. The brain responds to what it experiences, and being aware of those effects is a powerful step toward protecting and supporting it.